All right, so here's another one. Let's get it going by just again addressing the question sentence. So the question sentence reads, if each board is 2.5 feet long, this is just conditional information. Don't even worry about this yet. It says, how many full boards are required? How many full boards are required? Okay, so we are trying to figure out how many full boards are required here, and what we know so far is that a job needs 360 inches of trim, and each board that we're cutting is 2.5 feet long. So we have a total of 360 inches to work with, and each board is 2.5 or 2.5 feet. So before we even think about the conversions, anybody, before we even think about those conversions, what operation are we thinking of between these two values? The total trim that we have versus the size of each trim. What operation are we thinking of here? Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, division? Yeah, it's going to be division. It's going to be division. Remember, my party people, anytime that you have a total and you're trying to find out how many cuts you can make out of that total, that's division. You're trying to see how many times you can take this much out of this. Anytime you are doing repeated subtraction, that's division. Repeated addition is multiplication. So again, we are repeatedly subtracting until we get the number of full boards that we can make. That's division all day long. So I'm going to note that right over here. We have division. And then I'm going to ask you this. My party people, would we rather deal with whole numbers or decimals? You tell me. Would you rather deal with whole numbers or decimals? I agree. I would rather deal with whole numbers too. So in order to do that, notice that I could convert the inches into feet, or I could convert the feet into inches. We're not trying to find a specific unit at the end. We just want to divide these two values, and so it's up to you. It's up to you whether you want to convert this one or this one. It's really up to you. So to keep life easy, I'm going to convert the 2.5 feet into inches, and then we'll get going from there. So to do that, I know my conversion. 1 foot equals 12 inches. And so to go from feet to inches, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply the 2.5 by 12, and I'm going to do that right over here. 2.5 multiplied by 12. Remember that when we multiply by a decimal, we'll go ahead and ignore that decimal and then just bring it back at the end. So we have 5 multiplied by 2. That's going to be 10, and carry that 1. 2 times 2 will be 4. Carry the 1 is 5. Next up, we'll place a 0, and we'll keep working here on that next place value. We have 5 times 1, which is 5, and then 2 times 1, which is 2. Adding everything up, and we have a 0, 10, carry the 1, and then a 3. So we see that we had just one decimal place that we're going to bring back. So that'll be 30 as our number of inches. So there we go. Booyah, we have our 30. And so now the goal here is to do 360 inches divided by 30 inches. And that'll give us the number of times or the number of boards that we can fully make. So with that, let me go ahead and turn my iPad so it's straight forward, so that way we don't aggravate anybody with OCD. So with that said, let's do the division here, everybody. We have 360 divided by 30. What's that going to give us? How many times does 3 go into 36? Yeah, that's going to be 12. And there we go. We can make 12 full boards, and we are all set with this problem. The correct answer here is answer choice C. All right, here's another problem. Let's check things out. We see here that, as always, question sentence first. What is the total distance of the trip? Okay, everybody, this isn't asking us just for distance. It's asking for total distance of the trip. Now, that could mean something or could not mean anything at all, but I did notice the word total. So here's how we're going to do this. We are going to understand what makes up the total distance. Let's understand what makes that up by reading through and seeing what the situation's like. Okay, here we go. Starting from the top. A driver goes 2 hours at 45 miles per hour, then 3 hours at 60 miles per hour. My party people, I'm confused because this question reads, what's the total distance? But I'm looking at this and 2 hours, that's not a distance. 45 miles per hour, that's not a distance. 3 hours, that's not a distance. 60 miles an hour, that's not a distance either. That's a time, that's a rate, that's a time, that's a rate. Everybody, how do they expect us to add the distances together if we don't have the distances? What can we do? What can we do? What can we do here, my party people? I don't have the individual distances. Yeah, I saw someone say multiply, and that is absolutely going to be correct. Everybody, let me show you this. Let me show you this to help this make sense. Everyone, if we're trying to get the total distance of the trip, I am going to take the distance for part 1 and add it with the distance for part 2, and that's going to be total distance. Everybody, in a very simple world, does that make sense for this problem? Like, hypothetically speaking, if I knew the first distance and I knew the second distance, yeah, I would add those two together and I'd be done. That's the total distance, right? Perfect. Cool. Awesome. The only thing that's not awesome about that is that we don't have the distance, but guess what? We can get there. We can absolutely get there. Here's how I know that. We can take the rate multiplied by the time to get the first distance. Right here. This first distance, that's going to be rate times time. That's what distance is. Same thing for the other side. Same exact thing. 3 hours at 60 miles an hour. Right over here, that's going to be 60, the rate, times the time. My party people, do you see where I'm going with this now? Do you see how we can get the individual distances to then add up to get that total distance? Are we seeing that? Again, this is the first part of the word problem, right? Translating that English into math. And now that we've translated that English into math, into a plan, now it's time to actually do the math. Now we can rest assured that what we've set up makes sense, and now it's time to calculate. So here, rate multiplied by time for the blue, for the first part, 45 miles an hour times 2 hours. Right there. Everybody, what's 45 times 2? What's that going to give us? 45 times 2 is 90. That's correct. So boom, we have 90 miles. Next up, we have the rate times time for the second part, and that's 60 miles an hour, 3 hours. And so that'll be 60 multiplied by 3, which is 180 miles. That's right. So now one last thing. Remind me, what did we say we would do if we had those individual distances? Yeah, we would add them up. That's exactly what we said we would do. So we have the first distance, 90 miles. The second distance, 180 miles. We add those together, and that's going to give us 270 miles total. And that's why the correct answer here is answer choice B.